At the turn of the millennium, specifically on the 17th to 18th of June, the number 8 Audi Sport Team Joest car would come through to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the hands of Frank Biela, Tom Christensen and Emanuele Pirro. It would mark an historic moment for Audi, as it would mark the German manufacturer's first ever win at the famous race, with the manufacturer also locking up the podium in the same race. From that point on, Audi would completely dominate Le Mans, as in 14 of the next Le Mans races, Audi would win 12 of them, with the 2 editions they didn't win being in 2003 and 2009, with Bentley and Peugeot winning those respective races. Although you could make an argument that Audi won in 2003, given the Bentley that won that race shared technology with the German manufacturer as a result of both of them being owned by the German car giant VW. In 2012, the FIA would introduce a new endurance series known as the World Endurance Championship, which not only would include the 24 Hours Le Mans, but it would also feature other endurance races that normally lasted around 6 hours. This meant that not only was there the incentive to win Le Mans, there was also now an incentive to win a world title. And in the first 2 years, as you might expect, Audi would win the title, with Toyota, who were Audi's nearest rivals, not having an answer to their pace. Then came 2014, and in that season, Audi and Toyota would be joined by another manufacturer in the form of Porsche, who as a result would make their premier class return to Le Mans, having last competed for the overall win in 1998, which was ironically when they last won Le Mans. It would also be the first time since 2003 that there would be 2 VW teams, as like with Audi, Porsche are also owned by the VW group. And with both of them having a lot of success at Le Mans, with both of them being the most successful around the famous race, it was going to be fascinating to see who would come out on top between the pair of them. Yet, despite Audi going on to take yet another win at Le Mans, due to Porsche running into mechanical issues during the race, neither of them would go on to win the title, as instead, both Sebastian Buemi and Anthony Davidson would go on to take Toyota's first ever WEC title, beating the highest placed Audi entry by a massive 39 points and a further 10 points ahead of the highest placed Porsche entry, who would finish third in the standings after picking up the manufacturer's first ever WEC win at the finale at Interlagos. With Toyota essentially spoiling the party, we were for the first year denied a head-to-head duel between the 2 VW teams. However, a drop-off in pace for 2015 for Toyota, combined with both Audi and Porsche making strides forward after a frustrating 2014, would finally give us the head-to-head duel that we were waiting for. This is the story of the Audi-Porsche duel from 2015. The 2015 World Endurance Championship would consist of 8 races, starting in Europe on the 12th of April at Silverstone, before ending in the Middle East at the Bahrain International Circuit in Turkey on the 21st of November. Personal opinion, as it is still a thing nowadays, I believe there should be more races on the calendar, as I feel having 8 races is too short, especially when you compare it to IMSA's calendar. 10 to 11 races for me is a perfect amount, as I am aware the drivers have other commitments in other series. But that's my opinion, perhaps you have a different opinion in the comments below. Anyways, at the first race of the season, Porsche demonstrated their upturning performance by locking out the front row in qualifying, with the number 17 of Timo Bernhard, Mark Webber and Brendan Hartley grabbing the first pole of the season. But in the race, it would end up being a disaster for the pole sitters, as after only 44 laps, the number 17 was forced to retire in the garage due to an issue with the drivetrain, leaving the number 18 of Mark Lieb, Romain Dumas and Neil Yarni to fight for Porsche's honour. But they would be under enormous pressure from the number 7 Audi of Andrea Lotterer, Marcel Fassler and Benoit Trelulia, who after battling with the number 1 Toyota at the beginning of the race and even receiving a drive-through penalty during the race, was now fighting with the number 18 Porsche for the win. The pair would trade positions constantly, with the Porsche being able to fight back due to its straight line speed advantage, until eventually the number 7 Audi would make a lovely move around the outside of the Brooklands Lovefield complex to move into the lead and never look back, taking the win by 4 seconds ahead of the number 18 Porsche and a further 6 seconds ahead of the number 1 Toyota. 1-0 to Audi after Silverstone, and they would make it 2-0 at the next race at Spa, as despite Porsche taking a 1-2-3 in qualifying, with one of the cars even featuring then Force India driver Nico Hülkenberg, they wouldn't win the race, as whilst the number 19 ran into a GTE Porsche and the number 17 had to go into the garage due to a suspension issue, which saw them finish a lap down in third, the number 18 was yet again left to defend Porsche's honour and would once again be in an intense fight with the number 7 Audi. And thanks to an upgraded front-end package and smart strategy, the number 7 Audi would once again come out on top to make it 2 out of 2 wins to give themselves a 14-point lead ahead of the number 18 Porsche in the championship, with Audi leading the manufacturers by 17 points. After the first 2 races, it was very clear that Porsche had the quicker car, but bad strategy and also bad luck prevented them from getting the most out of their package. Porsche needed to bag a win somewhere in order to stop Audi from running away. But given the next race was at Le Mans, a race Audi had dominated for so many years, it was not going to be easy. In qualifying, Porsche would once again grab pole position, making it a 1-2-3 again like at Spa, and at the start, they were able to maintain their 1-2-3 status. But just like the first 2 races, Audi was still giving them headaches, and were keeping Porsche within touching distance. However, things would go horribly wrong for one of the Audis, as down at the Indianapolis complex, a slow zone was put in place to retrieve some debris, which in turn nearly caught out the number 18 Porsche. The number 8 Audi on the other hand was not so lucky, as whilst trying to avoid a collision with the number 51 Ferrari GTE AM car, the number 8 would clip the grass at high speed and spin into the outside barriers, forcing it into the garage. The car would get going again after the front of the car was repaired, but it ended up a few laps down. Then Porsche would run into problems, as during the night, the number 18, which was piloted by Romain Dumas, would misjudge his braking at the Mulsanne corner, crashing into the barrier. He would get going again, but would need to make a trip to the garage for repairs. With the number 18 out of the running, the number 7 Audi had a strong opportunity to increase its lead further in the standings, but any hopes it had of winning the race would evaporate, as it would be forced into the garage due to bodywork damage. He wouldn't be the only Audi in trouble, as the number 9 would also be forced into the garage due to multiple issues with the car's hybrid. This in turn meant that Porsche would end Audi's streak of wins at Le Mans, but shockingly enough, it would be the number 19 car that was piloted by Nico Hülkenberg who would come through to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans, despite also needing a trip to the garage at one point in the race, leading home a 1-2 ahead of the number 17 Porsche, who was a lap down in second. The number 7 Audi, despite its bodywork issues, would round off the podium in third to ensure that it increased its lead in the Drivers' Championship, being 23 points ahead of the number 18 Porsche, who finished down in 5th, and a further 3 points ahead of the number 17 Porsche. With Audi increasing its lead at the top, Porsche needed to find a way to get a grip of their fellow VW team. And it's safe to say that the win at Le Mans would ensure they would do that in a big way. At the next race at the Nürburgring, Porsche would once again grab pole position, with the number 18 leading the number 17 to pole, but issues with the fuel consumption due to a faulty sensor led to the number 18 receiving numerous stop-go penalties, costing them any chance of the win. Instead, it would be the number 17 that would take the honour of taking Porsche's second win of the season and their first of the season, followed by the number 18 Porsche, who finished a lap down in second after a close fight with the 2 Audis, with the number 7 beating the number 8 to the final podium spot. This lifted the number 17 up to second in the standings and would ironically find themselves 17 points behind the number 7 Audi. Then at Kota, the number 17 would make it 2 in a row, despite having to serve a 1-minute stop and go penalty, followed home by the number 7 Audi, after the number 18 Porsche, which started on pole, once again ran into bad luck, this time having to go into the garage due to a mechanical problem that saw them finish down in 12th overall. Suddenly, the number 7's gap in the championship was coming down, and it would continue to be the case as in the next 2 races at Fuji and Shanghai, both of which were affected by rain, the number 17 Porsche would take pole in both and convert both poles into wins, even despite a scare on the first lap at Fuji, with them leading home a 1-2 finish in both races ahead of the number 18 Porsche, with the number 7 Audi finishing third in both of them, even despite a controversial collision with the number 18 Porsche at Shanghai. These results, as a result, ensured that Porsche won the manufacturer's title, completely dominating it ahead of Audi, but in terms of the Drivers' Championship, that was still all to play for, as thanks to the 4 wins in a row, the number 17 Porsche had converted a 26-point deficit to the number 7 Audi into a 12-point lead heading into the finale in Bahrain, which would later become 13 after the number 17 Porsche grabbed pole position for the final race. With the gap being 13 points, it was going to be a task for the number 7 Audi to turn that around. But with the twists and turns that happen in this championship, anything could be possible. At the start, the number 17 held on to the lead, whilst the number 18 just held on to second from the number 7 Audi. Not long later, and the number 8 Audi would pass his teammate for third place due to having more superior pace before catching up to the back of the number 18 Porsche to grab second place at turn 1. After passing his teammate and also splitting the 2 Porsches, the number 8 set his sights on the championship leading number 17 Porsche, but luckily for him, he wouldn't need to push that hard. As sunset hit the Bahrain International Circuit, the number 17 Porsche would run into problems, crawling around the track at slow speeds and being forced into the garage. The issue was diagnosed as a throttle problem, which took 8 minutes to repair, by which time when it got going again, it found itself down in 6th place and 4 laps down. Sensing a chance at the championship, the number 7 Audi would pass the number 18 Porsche to move up to second, and would then grab the lead off his teammate after the number 8 ran into brake issues, forcing it into the garage for 15 minutes, allowing the number 17 Porsche to move up to 5th. But with the number 7 Audi leading, if the result were to stay as it was, the number 7 Audi would win the title. But luckily for the number 17 Porsche, it did have help on its side, as his teammate would start to catch back up to the number 7 Audi. And after the forecourse yellow came to an end, due to debris and curb damage at turn 7, the number 7 Audi would mess up on the restart and allow the number 18 Porsche to grab the lead. But despite this, the number 7 Audi wouldn't give up, and just like the first 2 races of the season, it would end up having a back and forth battle with the number 18 Porsche, swapping places left, right and centre. Then, after a crash involving the number 43 Moran LMP2 car, the forecourse yellow would come out again, which saw the top 2 come into the pit. And unlike the first 2 races, it would be Porsche that would outsmart their fellow VW team, with the number 18 Porsche coming out ahead of the number 7 Audi and having a comfortable gap. Elsewhere, the number 17 Porsche would run into issues again, once again going into the garage with a throttle issue before having 2 separate engine cuts after it rejoined the race thanks to an issue with the car's hybrid system. But luckily for the number 17 Porsche, they were still able to hold on to 5th due to being several laps ahead of the number 8 Audi. The number 7 Audi knew it had to win to have any chance of winning the title, but despite their best efforts, they couldn't overhaul the number 18 Porsche. After so much bad luck throughout the season, the number 18 Porsche would come through to finally take its first win of the season, followed by the number 7 Audi who finished second. But with the number 17 Porsche finishing 5th, it was enough for Porsche to beat Audi to the driver's title and become the 2015 World Endurance Champions. After a shaky start to the season, Porsche fought back after the first 2 races, and the 4 in a row for the number 17 Porsche was enough to make them beat their fellow VW counterpart. Although Audi only achieved 2 wins, with Porsche winning the other 6, it was an amazing fight throughout the year between the pair of them, as a combination of consistency and inconsistency for Audi and Porsche respectively, along with some smart strategic calls, made this fight very memorable, and the very tense title fight that happened at the finale made it an incredible viewing experience. Porsche and Audi would fight for the title again in 2016, only this time they would have Toyota fighting with them as well, with the Japanese manufacturer making a step forward compared to 2015. Audi would once again miss out on the title and would end up pulling out of LMP1 and the World Endurance Championship as a whole at the conclusion of the 2016 season. Porsche meanwhile would win both championships again in 2016, with Marc Lieb, Neil Yarni and Romain Dumas this time winning the driver's title, taking the crown away from their teammates Mark Webber, Brendan Hartley and Timo Bernhard, with Mark going on to retire from racing at the end of the season. Hartley and Bernhard would take the crown back in 2017, this time with Earl Bamber taking Mark Webber's place in the car, beating the number 8 Toyota of Sebastian Buemi and Kazuki Nakajima to the title. Porsche would then follow suit with Audi and pull out of LMP1 at the conclusion of the 2017 season, sparking the beginning of the end of the LMP1 regulations, with Toyota being the only manufacturer left in the category, going on to dominate the next 4 years. In 2021, a new set of regulations known as the Hypercar regulations would replace the LMP1 regulations, and this in turn would attract more manufacturers for the start of the 2023 season, with them having an option of building an LMH car or an LMDH car. And as you might have guessed, in collaboration with Penske, Porsche would make its return in 2023, entering an LMDH car in both IMSA and WEC. After a learning season in 2023 and a slight regulation change to the balance of performance in 2024, Porsche would be back to being a front-running team, with them currently competing for this year's title against Toyota and Ferrari, who also made their Premier Class return in 2023. Audi were also planning to enter an LMGH car in both IMSA and WEC before cancelling those plans to focus on their debut in Formula 1 in 2026, taking over the Sauber team, which is a real shame. Not them entering Formula 1 by the way, more them not returning to WEC, as not gonna lie, I am a massive Audi fan. Maybe they will return in the future, who knows, as I would like to see another duel between the pair of them. The VW duel of 2015, one of the most intense battles and rivalries in endurance racing history.